There's something strange about silence in today's world. We live in a time where almost everything is shared. What we eat, where we go, how we feel, even pain gets posted. And yet, some people stay completely invisible. They scroll quietly, observe deeply, but rarely post. Maybe you know someone like that. Maybe it's you. And the question is, why would someone choose to stay unseen in a world built on attention? Most people assume it's simple. They're shy, introverted, or antisocial. But that's not the full picture. Because for many, silence isn't a weakness, it's a decision. Social media has quietly changed how we define ourselves. It rewards visibility. It praises noise. It turns identity into performance. Every post says, "This is who I am," and silently asks, "Do you approve?" But the people who don't post have stepped out of that system. They're not trying to prove who they are. They're trying to understand it. Psychologically, this is important. People who post less often tend to rely less on external validation and more on internal clarity. They don't need constant feedback to feel real. And when you stop posting, something shifts. You stop seeing life as something to capture and start experiencing it as something to live. Moments feel different when they're not being prepared for an audience. Because the truth is, most of what we share isn't just communication, it's validation. And when you step away from that need, you gain something rare: freedom. There's also a deeper layer. In psychology, there's something called psychological ownership. It's the feeling that your experiences truly belong to you. But the moment you share them publicly, that feeling weakens. They become open to judgment, opinions, and interpretation. So some people choose not to post, not because they have nothing to share, but because what they have feels too meaningful to expose. But silence doesn't always come from peace. Sometimes it comes from pressure. There's something called self-presentational pressure. The constant feeling of being watched and evaluated, even when you're not posting. And over time, that becomes exhausting. So people step back, not because they don't want connection, but because they don't want to perform it. And here's the irony. The quietest people online often have the loudest minds. They think deeply, observe carefully, and process more than they express. They're not disengaged, they're selective. In a world constantly saying, "Look at me," choosing silence becomes something powerful. A way of saying, "I exist, even if you don't see me." Because not everything meaningful needs to be shared. Some of the most important parts of life, growth, healing, transformation, happen quietly. And when you go through enough of those moments, you realize something important. Being unseen is not the same as being insignificant. This is the paradox. Social media was designed to connect us, yet it often leaves people feeling disconnected. But when you stop posting, you begin to notice something different. You notice who reaches out without updates, who remembers you without reminders, who values you without proof. That kind of connection feels real. And over time, your sense of self becomes stronger, because it's no longer shaped by constant feedback. You're not adjusting who you are based on reactions. You're simply being. That's not weakness, that's stability. Because real confidence doesn't need to be displayed. It exists quietly, without validation, without attention. But silence can feel uncomfortable at first. You might wonder if you were disappearing or falling behind. But eventually, you realize something powerful. Your life doesn't lose meaning just because it isn't visible. In fact, the most important parts of your life will never be posted. your growth, your struggles, your private victories. They live within you, not online. And maybe that's the point, because when you stop sharing everything, you start hearing yourself again. Your thoughts become clearer. Your experiences feel more real. And in the end, the people who don't post aren't avoiding life. They're experiencing it differently. So the next time you see someone who never posts, don't assume they're hiding. They might just be living in a way most people have forgotten. Because we were never meant to turn our lives into content. We were meant to experience them. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is live a life that doesn't need to be shown.